Hello, welcome to episode 214 of Daryl Show Your Work. In this episode, I'll be implementing a human checkpoint on all high impact action taken by the Help Desk AI chat box. All right, chatbot. Before I get started, for those that need hands-on cybersecurity experience to add to your resume or your skills portfolio, go to get.ine.com/Daryl. There you'll find several cybersecurity learning paths and certifications ranging from red teaming, blue teaming, junior, senior level pen testing, mobile web application pen testing, digital forensics, instant response system administration, and much more. All of these contain hands-on practical labs to not only apply your knowledge to, but to also to help you gain that valuable experience needed to land those sought-after cybersecurity roles. So by applying my exclusive discount promo code INF 100-BrooksTech at the checkout, you will receive $100 off of any of your purchases, with the exception of live virtual trainings. All right, so that link is in that promo code is going to be in the show notes below. And without any further ado, let's get started. So, human in the loop, this is where human oversight is actively integrated into an artificial intelligence system's workflow. So rather than operating full autonomously, all right, the AI, it pauses at a critical decision point for human review, approval, correction, which ensures outputs remain accurate, safe, and aligned with human values. So conceptually, it's similar to the Windows user account control, or UAC. It's similar to that Windows feature, and it's similar to it where it limits applications and standard user permissions until an administrator explicitly grants elevated access. So in concept, it's similar. All right, we're not necessarily talking about user permission here, but we are talking about having that administrator in the loop to be able to, for someone to proceed further, it requires some sort of administrative oversight. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do here, we can see that I'm actually in the help desk AI. All right, I'm going to start off by confirming that emails can be sent without approval. And we've seen this when I've interacted with this chat bot before, but we just want to verify that that is still something that's present. All right, so I'm going to start off and ask it, please send an email to Daryl at, and we're going to keep it internal, techcorp.com. Okay, so TechCorp is the company that owns this help desk AI instance. All right, and I'm gonna say to verify SharePoint is now operational. All right, so basically, I'm gonna send this email. I'm gonna send this email to this internal address, and see how the chat bot responds, and then verify that that email was sent if it does allow it to go through. All right, so let's send it. Let's see what the chat bot does. All right, so we can see here. All right, success true, message email sent to Daryl at techcorp.com. So it didn't require, I was able to do that here as a user, just straight from the user interface here. And this is verified that that email was sent. All right, so I'm open up another tab here, and I'm going to navigate to the email client here, and that's being hosted over port 8025. All right, and then we can see that right here, SharePoint status verification. And hi, Daryl. Just wanted to check in to see if SharePoint is now operational. Please let me know if everything is working as expected. Best regard, helpdesk-AI. So we can see that email was sent on my behalf. So it required no administrative oversight. So what I want to do here is add an extra step in this process that requires a human in a loop or requires some type of human intervention. So somebody can't just do like we've seen in previous videos and start sending emails out to external sources. Even though I've shown a way that we could prevent that, I want to add another layer of security here and have it so where it requires human intervention before an email is sent anywhere, internally or externally, because it still poses a danger internally if I'm either an insider threat or if I've entered in to the network as an intruder and now I'm doing a phishing campaign. Well, that's going to be sent to um, the internal email recipients or the employees. So we still want to have a level of security here for that. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually start building a pending tray. So putting on my administrator hat here, I'll be modifying the chat box source code to create a system tray. This will put any email related action on hold, assign it an ID, and allow administrators to review it for approval or denial. So this will reduce the risk of someone misusing the chat box for something malicious, such as a phishing campaign, like I just mentioned. So in its current state, there's nothing stopping such an email from reaching the employee's inbox prior to an administrator seeing it. All right, so let's open up that the source code here. So I'm going to open up a command terminal. All right, let's expand this for view, and let's increase the font a bit here. So bring that up to 20. All right. So let me first navigate to my desktop. And I don't know why I did that. Let's try that again. All right, and then I'm going to navigate to the folder that the source code is actually in, which is so I'm gonna do cd dash cd lab dash 3.2 dash harden dash pipeline. All right, let's go there. And then I'm going to go one more level up to the actual help desk dash app. And that's going to put me to where, if I do a list command, we can see main.py, which is a Python file. So that is the actual source code. So I'm going to open that up with Mousepad. See, Mousepad, part of my keyboard here, main.py. All right, now we're in the source code. All right, so there's a couple of things here. I've already have some lines of code written out here. So again, we're not watching me fumble over syntax. So I'm gonna copy this first line here, and let me see, going back here to the source code. So this actually the first thing that I want to do is we see a bunch of import functions here. I'm going to add one. All right, so I'm going to add an import uuid function within here, and what that's going to do is going to implement a library to generate a unique ID for each action. So we want to be able to track the actions and assign an ID to it. So I'm gonna say import uuid. All right. And so next, let's find an area for the actual human in the loop approval gate. That's the block of code that's related to that. All right, here we go. All right, so from here, right under here, all right, I am going to add pending underscore actions. All right, let's add some brackets there. All right, and then I'm going to paste the code here. I'm going to explain what this code is in a minute after I paste it. All right, so what's going on here is that on the right here on the needs approval line, all right, I've defined which tools can be executed, which tools when executed require administrative approval. All right, so the actions ID right here. All right, so the actions ID line, it uses the UUID to assign the requested tool. You you excuse me, it it uses it basically the action ID line. It uses UUID to assign the requested tool in AID. So under pending actions, right under that. All right, we can see the fields and the variables used for an approval a request. All right, so those fields and variables, we can see the fields are ID, tools, params, status, Q at. All right, and then they all have variables assigned to them. All right, and then further down, all right, right here, all right, held, this is set to true, which every other which excuse me, which tells the language model that the action being held is being held instead of immediately executed. And the below message right here, this message, all right, this is returned to the user. So the last line, return execute tool, right here. All right, this makes sure that every other called tool that hasn't been defined in this function runs normally. All right, so if it's not defined, so the two that I've defined here specifically in this example is the send email tool and the create ticket tool. So I've included create ticket here, but in this video I'm only going to be focusing really on send email, even though I've defined create ticket here as needing an approval as well before an actual ticket support ticket can be created by the user. It has to be approved by an administrator too. But I'm only showing the example with the email, but that's defined here as well. All right, so the next thing I want to do is define the request status through by basically by associating it with API endpoints. All right, so let me scroll down here and find the API section. All right, here we go. All right, so under the API section, let's see. I want to look at that where I actually need to go down a little further. Okay, I think right here. All right, so I'm going to add the next line of code between here. Let me go back to where I have that copied. All right, going back to the source code, and I am going to paste that line of code here. All right, and I'm explaining what's going on here. Let me just make sure. Uh, okay. All right, everything looks good with that. All right, so I'm gonna just explain what's going on here with this block of code. So the right here where we can see admin the admin pending, that's an API point, and it allows administrators to see what requests are waiting for review. And then the second line, admin approve, and then we have the action ID. So this is another API endpoint, and then we could see that if the action status is set to approve, then it will then it's executed, and the log action, it stores all the action variables to a log. All right, and so those who may not see what I'm talking about, so this is what I mean about if it's approved, then we have that status set to approve, then the action is executed, and then it appends a timestamp to it, a date and timestamp to it, and then further down here, um, we can see that that with log action, it logs the different action attributes, like the action ID and the tool used. And then in the case, of course, of an error, then it gives this error message. It gives a 404 code, and then an action not found or already processed. All right, so that's what's going on with that block of code. All right, and then I think there's one more thing I need to do here. I need to actually edit the actual tool for the tool call parameter. So let me go back up here, and I need to go to the LLM tool execution loop section. Here we go. I just passed it. Where are you? There you go. Okay. So I believe I am right here. Okay, yeah. Okay, so again, I need to make some modifications. So I'm going to change right this line right here where it says tool result equals execute tool. All right. So right now, basically it just allow this is what's allowing any of the tools to be executed with no admin approval. So when I modify this to say underscore with approval. All right, so this is going to ensure that the backend tools are now only called once an admin approval has been made. And I'm still going to leave everything defined as it is now as far as tool name and parameters. But that's what is essentially being done on this line here. And I believe I should be good to go as far as executing this and testing it. All right, so let me save it. All right, and as in previous videos, I'm going to need to restart Docker container, um, as well as the help desk app, in order for this to for the changes that I made to persist. All right, so let me go back one folder. All right, and I'm gonna say sudo Docker compose. Oops. All right, then restart help desk dash app. All right, so those should apply the changes that I just made to the source code. Hopefully, I didn't goof anything up with the syntax or the spacing. If I did, then when I refresh the page here, it's going to blow up. If not, then it should still be here. And yes, I goofed something up. So let's see, what did it not like? Okay. Uh, let's see. Guess I should start from the last change I made. Let's take a look here. So execute. So with approval, like I spelled everything right. So it's not that. Okay, let's go back up to approval gate. Let's take a look here. Let's see, action ID, that should be good. Pending, yeah, that should be good. ID, yep. Just checking to make sure there's no different quotes, because sometimes it could be a quote thing. So far, I'm not seeing anything that would cause it to fail. Set the true. Action, executes. Return to params. Yeah, I'm not sure why this is. All right, let's go down to, let's see. Let's go to the API section. Okay, here we are. Pending actions. Yeah, I'm not seeing what caused that. Everything looks good there. I think I see what the problem is. Okay. It might be this line right here. Okay, it could be something that simple. I just needed to space it out. Okay. All right, let me just double check. Then I think I may need to double space here. Let me see. Let me add another space here, because that might be. Let's add another space there, and then let me check where I added that uuid. See, yeah, nothing looks out the ordinary there. Port uuid, yeah. All right, so let's see if adding that space there fixed the issue. Let's save. That's gonna be real petty if that was it. All right, let's see. Nope, that wasn't it. Oh boy. Let's see. Hmm. Let's see, I don't think I'll put any spaces there. Pending actions. Needs approval. Oh, I think, let me see if tool. Nope, nope, that's good. Oh man, I am not sure what's doing this. All right, let me try something different here. And try to paste this from another area. Give me a moment. Okay. All right, let's. All right, so let's just do this. I'm going to leave everything else the same. I'm just going to just bridge all the gaps here. Hopefully this should fix the problem. Okay. Let me see, just make sure that's supposed to be, yeah. Okay. Bring that up. All right, and then let's go to the API part. Let's do the same there. Okay. Give me a moment. I'm copying the code here. I'm just copying it from a different place. I know I could have goofed something up here when pasting it in the other tab here, Mousepad. So, all right, fix that. Okay, and then here, there. This is the only other thing I could think of that may be causing this. Okay. Just double check that. All right, well, let's try this again. Save. All right, and then let's restart the, oh, you know what? I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Let's restart the chat bot. All right. That was it. All right, great. All right, I think I just needed to paste that over. All right, sorry about those technical difficulties, but we are back in action here. All right, so now that I've created that human in the loop gate, I need to actually test it. All right, so I'm going to use the same prompt here. Well, I'm going to modify it a little bit just so we could tell the difference when it hits the if and when it hits the inbox. So I'm going to say, please send an email to Daryl. Um, Let me see, Daryl at techcorp.com to verify the human in the loop gate. All right. So let's see what happens when I send that. So what should happen is that the new those new rules that I add in the source code should stop it, and it should tell me that it's being held for administrative approval. All right. So let's send it to see what happens. It should not be set to true. It should be held. Great. All right. So now, well, it's set to true, but it's held set to true. All right. So not set to true. All right. We can see the message here, and then we see that uuid is working because now we have an actual ID, action ID associated with it. So if I go back here to the mail client, all right, and then go back to the inbox, we still don't see anything new there. All right. So the next thing that I want to verify is I want to verify is that if that pending tray is now operational. All right. And then from there being able to review the request in the pending tray, then I want to be able to use my administrator privileges to then approve it and then see if that works as far as getting that email into the inbox. All right, so I'm going to use curl for this. So I'm going to say curl dash s. All right, and remember we've associated this with API with um with API endpoints. All right, so it's going to be local host and still going to be over port 8080, but it's going to be admin and then remember pending. That is the API endpoint that we've associated with the with the pending tray. All right. And then let's see, then I want to say too, hold on, Python 3 dash M and JSON. No, not JSON, JSON tool. Okay. Let's see what happens. Great. All right. So we could see that request. So we could see that same ID that help desk AI came back with that was associated with it being held. We could see the tool being used, which is send the email, and then we can actually see the email that's being held. All right. So we can see the address that is supposed to go to, the subject line, and then the body of that message. All right. So from here, if I'm the admin, putting back on my admin hat, now I can approve it, all right, to go to the mail client or to go out to its destination. So in order to do that, I'm gonna use curl again, all right, and then I'm gonna modify this line a bit. And so the way I would do that, I'm gonna approve the action by sending a post method with the action ID. All right, so I'm gonna say I'm gonna leave everything the same here. Then I'm gonna add dash capital X and remember a post method. All right, and then I'm going to modify this because now we're using a different API point to approve it. So it's going to be admin approve. And then let me copy this ID because I need to add that there. All right, let's copy that. And then I'm going to paste this here to the command line. And I believe everything else should stay the same. So when I execute this, it should approve oops, hold on, I just saw an error. My keyboard just did its own thing again. Glad I caught that. Okay. All right. So this should approve the requested tool use, and then send that email to the mail client. All right. Says results. It says true. Message email sent to Daryl at techcorp.com. So let's go back to the mail client here and let's see if that's what happened. And we can see that now we can see a new email. All right, HITL, which is human in the loop gate verification. All right, hello, Daryl. This is a test email to verify the HITL gate. Please let me know if you received this email. All right, so essentially that is an example of how human in the loop works. About how we can add a layer of security to an AI model, which requires human intervention before an action is taken. So basically, once a user makes a request here, in this example with the send email tool, all right, it will send the request, but the request will be held in the pending tray, and then an administrator will see that and either approve or deny it based upon what is being requested. In this case, I shown how, as the administrator, how I could approve that request by using a post method. So please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly, show your work. Until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.